Alright, all my fellow Eydis simps, it is time to rise up because we are going to have a new Eydis banner. But unlike my usual videos, this one comes out tomorrow. The whole purpose of this video is to really go through what the character does and if you should actually pull on them or not. That way, maybe, hopefully, I could help you save some diamond cubes before anniversary. That's right, we got the right-eyed seal Eydis right here. Now, she is a water element, the voice resonating within my heart. She looks great, and I'm actually kind of excited for her because of her artwork, but is she worth scouting for? So as you can see, she's not a cab unit, she is a back unit. Now, there is a difference with those two things. But before that, there's her stats. If you are curious, she's pretty slow, but her attack it's pretty decent, 2340. Back to the whole back thing. Now with back, compared to cab, they're more focused on charge, but with back, it's more focused on break. So you could see on her imaginariums, she increases break by 10% for each imaginarium. Now with how this game is running nowadays, let's use this current new event for example. With each new event, we will at least get one imaginarium for the new character. Now of course the last pattern was Shada, so of course we'll have one free imaginarium for that Shada. So that means with the new event tomorrow, which is another ranking event, we'll have at least one imaginarium for this Eydis. Now because she is not limited, you can also get the last two that you would want through the little imaginarium shop. And if you don't know how that works, you can see that Shada's here because she's not a limited character. So if you've been playing this game, you'll have a lot of these like extras, but of course if you're new, you might not have as much list like I have. So the reason I brought that up is because as a base, we're going to imagine that we'll have 3 imaginariums, so that means she'll have an increased break by 30%. So first, her break, so like East Con or that new Shada, she brings up her own attack by 7% and it only goes up to 30% for 2 turns, and then of course a slash attack, but she also lowers physical resistance by 20%, and then her incarnate break is 50%. But if you have the 3 imaginariums, then you'll go up to 80. But if you're a whale or somehow get lucky with 2 Eydis, then of course her break can go up to 90%. Now, although that does sound pretty cool, there are other characters that are just on par with that Eydis. For example, Dill here on enhanced mode, her break is up to 75%, which is only 5% lower if you have the 3 imaginariums for the Eydis. But another character that can do as much break as that Eydis is another Eydis, Hard Day's Work Eydis, who also has imaginarium break by 10% while also having that 50% break. Overall, as I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of back units because it doesn't make like the break like super special as what they were probably going for. Okay, this might not be the greatest example, but if we had a cab unit or someone with charge, like for example this Kirito, he already has a base charge of 20%, and then if you have his imaginariums, it goes up by 10%. So of course if you get 3, because they're not limited, I can go up to 50%. Then if you have continuous damage, they'll have an even higher charge, which I have seen people just immediately go up to 100% on their charge. That's not the greatest example because if the enemy has continuous damage, they'll have the greatest charge. But a cab unit here, this non-element Tisei, who has that increased 10% charge as well, just like that Kirito can go up to 50%, but also increases her charge if, you know, they have the continuous damage on the enemy. So this break isn't really special because it's no extra break if there's continuous damage or maybe even the physical resistance debuff. It's pretty bland, a little disappointed, but hey, that attack is pretty nice. And then, well, I mean, I would talk about her assault, but it's kind of bland, it's kind of basic. Of course, bring up her own attack by 7%, which a max can go up to 30%. If the enemy has a physical resistance debuff or magic resistance debuff, you have the 15% more damage. And as long as you have a recollection field of 3 but with water, then you'll have a 20% added damage bonus to your assault, which I will talk about team compositions a little bit later in this video. So let's go over her charge. So of course, again, brings up her attack. This Eydis would be a good support because she not only has a break, but she also has a charge. Now her base charge is 18.5, which is a little lower because as you saw, the other characters had up to 20. But if you have a recollection field of 3, she can have an added increased charge of 30% if you have the recollection field. So that's what, 48.5%, which if you recall, it's very close to what this Kirito can do, just a little bit less, like what, 1.5% less. So you get that 20, you get that extra 30% if you have the imaginariums, except, you know, it adds more if it's continuous damage. This Eydis does not. Now let me also add, she would have been way better if she had this charge plus the imaginarium was on charge instead of break. Anyways, enough about that. Let's talk about her incarnate skill. Now I would use her incarnate less. I wouldn't use her as someone you'd use in the very beginning of a battle. The reason I say that is because, you know, she raised her attack by 7%, right? But as long as the enemy has the physical resistance debuff that she has on her break, she'll deal 15% additional damage. Now she'll also deal 15% more damage if her attack buff is 15%, which of course she brings up her own attack, but if you bring up an attack buffer, it'll be anyone because it's not really element specific. So right there, you're already dealing 30% additional additional damage, plus you have your attack buff. And if your buff is 30% or higher, not the 30% you just have for added damage, but let's say your attack buff, your crit buff or something, if it's 30%, you'll get 15% more damage. So you want to buff her as much as you can before you actually use her incarnate to get her full potential damage, which of course some characters that could help that Eydis is a Hard Day's Work Eydis, because she has that enhanced with attack up for 15%. If you have this Unital Ring Alice, she also works out because as you can see in her assaults, she raises the attack and crit. But like I said, you can literally use anyone because it's not element specific, so like you can even use the Xenon. She's a pretty great enhancer. Let's take a look at that. She brings up attack and crit for 15% for 3 turns and raises physical resistance, and it's short wait time. So other things for special partner is Alice. Now let's talk about leader skills. We don't talk about that. So her leader skill, she will start a battle with 25% more incarnate in the beginning of the battle, which can go up to 125%. But another character that can do that is the Scattering the Flower of Life Leafa, which of course, like I said, the same leader skill. Now if this Eydis was on my team, I would actually use her in the very front of my team. I'd use her leader skill just like the Leafa I have there, because if you have that 25 additional incarnate, that means you could just do a lot more incarnates. Just bring up the charge and just spam your incarnates, do as much damage as you can. All right, let's sum this up. What I'm basically saying, TLDR, you don't really need her. I would save your diamond cubes if you had like the additional characters. See, Dill is a replacement for her break, just 5% less. The only problem with her is that she's a magic attack hitter. Having this Eydis is like having a physical water team. It's because a lot of the water element characters that you're probably using are most likely going to be physical hitters, not magic attack. So if you did bring Dill, you'll lose like that one little extra 1% additional attack that you could have had if you had another character. In terms of recharge as a water unit, it's actually not that bad. At least looking at all these characters I could see right here, she does have the better charge for water elements so far, and it's pretty high too. With the Recollection Field 3, you can go up to 48.5% incarnate charge. And then of course you bring someone with an incarnate charge yell, so she's very nice but not very needed. And now let me remind you, the anniversary is coming like around end of November. Of course, we don't know any info of what they're doing for the anniversary, but they're probably going to be insane like they did last year. I mean, with my current like water team right here, if I were to get that Eydis, I would replace this Asuna. I mean, she fills up every role. She's a charge and a break, and although this Asuna does have enhanced mode with charge, if you got her Imaginarium, it only reduces MP by 5%. I'd rather have a better support that could break the enemy quickly, because that just means the enemy is going to have a higher break and I'm going to be very sad. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys all again in the next video. Goodbye.